Hi everybody, this is Chan the Birdman. Many of you know me as a free flyer, an animal behaviorist, and free flying training, a bird trainer. And so what that means is I'm known for flying my birds, especially the hyacinths, because um, they are very rare birds. And of course I got the green wing and the scarlet, and now I have this little guy, black palm, which is quite a bit of work actually. But this message is just to talk a little bit about free flying. And many people try to dream of flying their birds, but it requires a lot of discipline. And this video is just to help you understand the amount of time and hours it takes, especially during this pandemic. And this includes either professional birds who fly or home pets that fly. And every day I spend a lot of time reinforcing behaviors. Even though we don't go out as much anymore to go to places to let them fly, I do a lot of exercises at home. But the one key factor of free flying is to make sure that you have a really strong bond with your birds. And losing your birds is a big problem. It's not like a horse or a dog or a cat where they're four-legged animals and you can actually chase after them and find them. With a bird, they fly, they're gone, unless you got wings to fly after them. So it's a very challenging hobby to do, regardless if it's a falcon, an eagle, a vulture, or a parrot, a pisticine. Parrots are even more difficult because they are so highly curious. And so having them being so curious, it brings a lot of conflict when a bird flies because one, they're curious about other people, they're curious about trees, they're curious about weird shiny object on the floor, or even being on a rooftop somewhere. And if they see something, or even looking at other people when they fly off in their yards or in their cars, they necessarily don't want to come back. So the word coming back, or recall, is a very important word. Having strong recall with your bird is the key to free flying your birds. They need to understand when to come back to you. Now, at the beginning, when you think, a lot of people, which I've seen in my experience, is that a lot of people think that, oh, because my birds fly in the house, they're gonna easily come back to me. A bird in a house who flies back and forth doesn't necessarily understand how to come back to you when it's outdoors. You have to teach it to come back to you and when they're called. So if your bird doesn't come to you all the time, I would say 99%, because with Chan the Birdman graduate program, I'm very disciplined with the birds and their trainers. It has to be 95 to 99, and I strive to achieve the 99% indoors. When that happens, then you're a little bit have a self-confidence that they're going to come back to you if there was a mistake or something spooked them, or they see another bird chasing them. They're going to try to hang tight and be near you. They're not going to necessarily try to fly away. But when that is successful, there's other challenges and other variables involved, because your home is like their giant nest. They feel comfortable, they know all the people, they know the TV, they know the kitchen. But when they're outdoors, there's noise pollution, cars, bunch of birds, their own kind, dogs, houses, trees. They don't necessarily recognize where they're at, because now they're outside, they're open to the whole world like they were meant to be. And so with those challenges, you have to really hone in on the recall, or the coming back factor. Because when they're scared, it's a flight bird. When they're spooked, all birds, like when you go to the beach, you see one seagull get spooked, they all fly off. All the pigeons go off at once. And regardless if I have a flock of 5, if something spooks them, they still go off. But what makes them come back is the recall. And different ways of training recall is always desirable. You have to always try to teach many different forms of recall. And that's what makes my birds so successful. now I'm talking just on the experience of my own training and my own methods. Bruno, for example, is a very skittish bird. He's afraid of a lot of things. He's afraid of a vacuum, he's afraid of a broom, he's afraid of a rolling ball. And it would be a lie if somebody like me who says, all these years have my birds flown off? Yes, they have. They even flown off just in the backyard. But they come back within probably a minute, 5 minutes. And if they don't come back, they always call for each other. And that's something that I want to reinforce. So why am I making this video? Because every day in my field of work, I get people reaching out to me. My birds are lost. I don't know what happened. It wouldn't come down to me. What should I do? And this is a sport, a behavior, a lifestyle that's not for everyone. You may dream and see, wow, can I ever let my birds be free like that? You can, but it's not for everybody. There's a lot of anxiety at the beginning especially. There's a lot of reinforcement and discipline for the owners and all the members of the family, not just one person. If you're not alone, it requires a lot of practice every day. During this time of the pandemic, for example, what do I do to help them stay strong? What do I do to help them stay fit? Because there's risk involved. There's risk that when they fly, if they're not fit, they could actually be harmed by other big birds. And so you have to keep them fit. Let's also keep them mentally challenged. And, you know, there's so much more that I have to say. See, like you just saw them screaming, and that's because a finch flew by, and that's a warning call. And if that happens, you see sunshine flying. But, you know, the key here is she flew right back. That's a perfect recall. She could have flown out the patio and into the sky, onto the streets, or even like 5 miles away. And, you know, having that bond, that recall, again, recall and bond, is so much of a key factors to keeping them healthy, safe, and not being lost. So my words of wisdom to many people who dream of flying their birds: you have to accept that that is your lifestyle. It cannot be something that's taken lightly. It cannot be something that's taken like, oh, you know what, I think my birds can fly indoors and I'm happy, or just out in the, you know, in the yard. But the key here is to constantly test those variables. What is it that I need to improve? So in my bird training, many people, you know, reach out. Some people go through the whole training process, some people stop, but many sometimes don't completely follow through and change their way of life with these birds. So it's a lifestyle choice, it's not just a sport. And so when you want to consider free flying, you have to make those decisions, whether this is the lifestyle choice you want, and how much time can you actually build onto training these birds so that they can be safe, they can be strong, they can be natural, they can defend for themselves, and, you know, so that when you go flying, the risk is minimal. And then, you know, when you become experienced flyers, there's other challenges that come up. Do they actually know how to come home? Can they find the places where you live? Can they find you where you let them go? So those are many, many layers of development through Chan the Birdman graduate program. And so this video is it's food for thought. It's for all of those who are interested, for all of those who have achieved some flying ability and, you know, needs improvement or needs to refine, because even till today, I constantly learn something about my flock. I constantly learn what happened, what were some of the things I need to modify, what are some things I need to reinforce, and what are the things I need to do to keep them coming back to me. And I spend a lot of time on that with my own flock. It's my priority. And I hope that for many of you who have worked with me or haven't worked with me, think about these different situations and conditions that you have to achieve before you can easily let them fly freely. Because sometimes young flyers continues to lose their birds, and it breaks my heart. And I'm one of the very few people who don't use any of the other methods of tying your bird up to a rope or using GPS trackers. And so that built another intensity level of training. And you can see they are extremely, extremely attached to me. And Mr. Thumper up here decides to be on my head and just listen while the big kids are playing, because he hasn't been able to fly yet. He was severely clipped, and we're hoping that his health and nutrition and physique just really tightens up and becomes big, strong flyer, and one day he may join the group. We're hoping. But this is my words, words of wisdom and food for thought for you to think about, regardless if you are interested in flying a bird, or you are fascinated, or you have a bird that's flighted, or you already have a bird that's flighted and need refinement. Some things to think about. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.